Now, before we show these videos, I want you to understand one thing, is that anybody, no matter how big, no matter how bad, no matter how tough, no matter how much clout, respect that you believe you have, this can happen to anybody. Because when you are caught in a position where you are vulnerable and when you are outnumbered, that's the only time you're gonna know what you'll actually do. So you can say you would do this, you would do that, you can laugh, you can mock them all you want. But the thing is, you don't know until you are in that position. And like I said, it can happen to anybody. Recently, I've been getting sent loads of videos involving humiliation and pure violations, all involving people who are on the roads or in the streets, and most specifically, people who are all self-proclaimed gang members. Now, even if you're someone not involved or particularly interested in that lifestyle, the reason why you need to watch this video is because I'm going to explain to you the compounding nature of our daily habits, because you can apply this, what I'm going to speak about, to anything negative in your life. On the flip side, you can apply it to anything positive in your life, because the outcomes just depend on what you're putting in. If you're putting in positive, you'll get positive. If you're putting in negative, you'll get negative. But the key is to understanding the compounding nature of our daily habits, actions and thoughts. But before we get into that part, let's just break down some of these videos, because what people don't realize is, yes, these videos are shocking, humiliating, violating, but they are very common. This is just what you see online. This type of activity happens day in, day out, on a regular. It's not shocking like that. Like, the thing is, nowadays more people have mobile phones and social media. Well, everyone has it. What am I talking about more? Everybody's on that. Everyone's addicted as hell. Point being, nowadays people are more willing to put that stuff online, especially younger people. And the younger people is who I'm trying to talk to right now, in the sense that you don't realize how much time you're wasting and how much of your life you are jeopardizing by involving yourselves in these low-level activities. Because at the end of the day, the street life, the road thing, especially becoming a gang member, is low-level activities. Specifically becoming a gang member, because now you have to be a follower essentially, unless you're the ringleader, which technically 99% of people aren't. Now you have to do things when you don't want. Now you have to listen and care about other people's opinions all the time, because peer pressure is a real thing. Respect matters. People's opinion actually matters when it comes to street shit, because people are going to do certain things to you if they have a certain perspective of you, and people are going to put you in positions, and also you're going to get benefits if people perceive you a certain way. So that type of lifestyle, how you are perceived by others, matters so much. Now you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing, or you may not want to, and this is why so many people end up snitching, because they haven't got the balls to stand up and walk away from a situation and say, this shit is dumb, or I don't really want to do this, or this is hot, like this is going to get us bagged, it's so obvious. No, it's just blind following and not having the balls to walk your own path. You stay in the crowd, and then when you get put in a room by yourself and pressure is put upon you and you realize the reality of the situation you're in, you snitch. This is what happens with people. This is why so many people snitch. I know bare people who you never thought would have ended up snitching, but they did. And it all comes down to that one thing. They went and done something stupid that they shouldn't have even done in the first place, but they were too scared to walk away. They were too worried about other man's judgment, instead of using their head to think for themselves. And that's why you don't even want to involve yourself in that thing. You need to be able to walk your own path in life. That's the only way. God gave you the greatest gift of all, and that's yourself, your own being, your own likeness, your own uniqueness. Why would you sell that out to just be another copy of something else? Walking down a path that just leads to death, destruction and pain. Alright, before we go into more of the issues there, let's just speak on something extremely important. See this video of these young boys forced to kiss, or this video here of the boy forced to eat dog feces. Do you understand the trauma that these people are now going to have? They're never going to forget that till they're 99 years old. Never. And this situation is going to do one of two things. It's going to break them mentally, and they're going to end up heavily reliant on vices like drugs, alcohol, which so many men on the roads already are, because if that happens to you, you're essentially breaking your psyche. You have been violated on such a high level. And like I said, this thing is not a one-off. This is just what you're seeing on camera. This happens to bare man. Bare people are smoking just to cope with all the stress, pain, violations, everything they've been through, because they can't deal with it. It's so traumatic on your brain. So now you have two options. Go and become a demon and crash out and become the biggest savage to kind of justify to yourself, to feel some sort of justification, because your manhood has essentially been taken away when you've been put in a situation like this. Everyone gets caught lacking, but to be put in that situation is truly, truly, God forbid, like, it's so sad when I see those type of things. It's sad because they're young boys as well in all these videos. Even that KM one, that shit is so sad. But for him, I didn't feel much sympathy, because when I'd done the background research and see he's dissing dead people, done bare violence for his block and all that, as they say, and whatnot. So it's like, cool, that's your problem, you bring it on yourself. Because anything can happen when it comes to the streets. This is the thing. You can be 16 doing madness. So I don't know what, I forget now that I'm older, that sometimes I look at them like they're still kids, but then I need to remember when I was a kid, when I was 15, 16 and that. Certain things that we was doing and that. But that's not for this story. The point being, now they're in such a fucked up predicament that they, like I said, they're gonna go the path of coping through drugs and alcohol and all this and destroy themselves because they can't relax in their own head, or they're gonna turn into a savage and go mad. Or then they have the third path, but even if they take the third path, which is change their life, fix up, go on a good route, they still have to deal with the trauma from that situation. And I guarantee they're gonna have problems with vices, unless they have their faith into a higher power, into God, and they're strong-willed, which takes so much effort, energy, time, daily. It's not easy. It's extremely difficult. So the point still stands. The position they are in now is so fucked. There is light at the end of the tunnel if they choose to go a certain path, but that tunnel is dark for a very long time. And the thing is, as unfortunate and harsh as this may sound, these people put themselves in that position. So when things happen to you, it's 99% of the time your fault. This applies to all of life. Now, this is where I'm going to get into the compounding effect of your daily habits and actions and thoughts. Anything you're doing in your life, you are attracting. Meaning you're carrying energy, because life is literally lived on frequencies. This you can't even see. I think it's 90% of something of what's going on around you. Your eyes can't even pick it up, but things are happening and all that. It's why when you walk in a room after an argument, people can be silent, the TV is playing, but you can feel something. It's the energy still in the room. It's the frequencies, right? It's the same way that you can hear me when I speak to you, all through the frequencies. That's how you hear me. So energy is a real thing. So you're carrying around all this negative energy. What do you think you're going to attract? Now imagine you do this for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And the next thing you know, you've just got problems everywhere. Everywhere you look, everywhere you turn, bad things keep happening to you. And it's because the type of person that you are. And the type of person that you are is based upon your daily actions and habits. Yeah? Whether people like that or not, you are what you do. Yes, you are what you say. Yes, you are what you think. All this stuff. But ultimately, you are what you do. That's why when it comes to law, yes, there's a mens rea and an intention and all this stuff when it comes to criminal law. But ultimately, the action is what you are being judged on. Everything else is taken into consideration. Now, you're ultimately going to be judged on that final action. And unless you are purely have no intention of doing something and it's proven that you don't have the intention whatsoever, then your charges will get dropped and lessened, for example, from murder to manslaughter. And the reason is, what does that tell you? It tells you everything begins up here. And in order for things to begin good up here, you need to be mindful of what you're consuming. All of these guys that are involved in this road and street life and all that, it's happened because of consumption. Consumption is made up of what you consume, so physically and mentally, such as music and your food and all that stuff. That stuff influences you, right? Next is your environment, what you consume. So what other people you're talking to, the place you're living, what you hear and see happening around you. So now imagine these kids. One, they're in a messed up environment in the sense, because a lot of people come from good homes. They come from parents who just want them to do good. They're not coming from these messed up homes. There are a few people, there are a few men, like I grew up with certain men who essentially, they were set up from the start. Their mums and that were trapping in the yard. Their yards were trap yards and all that. But when you get to a certain age, 18, 19, bro, you have the internet nowadays. You have a phone. You can be searching and you can find answers. It's up to you. You're a man, right? You're a man. You're meant to stand on your own 2 feet and lead your own path. You can't keep using the excuses. Yes, I get it's more difficult for these type of people again, because look why, it's their perspective of life. All they've consumed is this type of thing, so they think that's the way forward, or that's just how life is, or that's all they know. Remember, compounding effect of daily habits, thoughts and actions. That's why those people find it a lot harder to break free, and that's why there's more empathy for those people, because frankly, they've been in it from such a young age. And that's why it's even harder for them to break out of it, because if you're in something for so long, it's harder to get out. In the Bible, it says, be fruitful and multiply. Why? Because humans' nature is to be fruitful and then multiply. Anything we do, that's our magic, that's our power. We have the ability to multiply. That's how come we can have kids, multiple kids at one. Men can produce multiple kids at once. Well, that's what twins are. Or you can impregnate multiple women at once. Not advocating for that. I'm just saying that is nature. That's the way man's designed. Anything we do, we have that power to multiply. So now if you're deciding to constantly indulge in negative, harmful behaviors such as smoking loud every day, listening to all this drill music, going and hanging around on the block, doing people dirty, snaking people, violating other people because you're committing harms of violence. You're then running away from harms of violence because you're being caught lacking and shit's happening. You have to dodge police, you're worrying about your freedom. All of that is a negative cycle, yeah? Now that is multiplying every time you do it. And that's why people end up becoming career criminals, and essentially because they become good at it. Or it's all they know, even if they're constantly getting caught. It's like that's all they know. They can't get out of it because they've multiplied and compounded it so much. So now to go and do the right thing, or try and do the right thing, or not even just right, do what's actually better for you in the long run. Something where you can look at yourself and genuinely be proud in the mirror. Because you go and look at any of these older people who live this gangster lifestyle, this life of crime, gang members and all that. Why? They all say the same thing. I am no longer proud of what I used to do. Why? Because they realize, they finally reflect, you're causing death, harm and destruction. And not only to people that you dislike or hate, you're doing it to yourself, your own soul, and to your family, the people you love. So think of it like that. Why would you choose a path that is just going to be filled with death, destruction and pain? Because I promise you, everything as a young man or a young boy that you are searching for in those streets, like brotherhood, like respect, like clout, like women, like money, can all be found in much more wholesome places. It's 2024. There is no point going down that street path. Zero. You're a young man and you can become successful by 21. Because a lot of people jump on roads and that when they're 16, 17 and that. If you start focusing from 17 and start inputting all that energy you have, yeah, into something proper like business, studying, a sport. Do the sport at the same time as the business and studying. I mean, like these combat sports and that. Because a lot of men, they like violence. They like that. Why? Because that's just something in masculine nature. Like for me, for example, from a young kid, I loved to fight. That's what essentially led me to being in the roads, because I was always fighting. And then people would respect that I'm always fighting, and I was winning. And you wouldn't expect it because I was fat and chubby and that. It was like with sports, I became popular because I was very, very, very good at football and other sports. But people didn't always expect it because a lot of times I'd be very chubby. Sometimes I'd lose weight and slim down, but for most of my childhood I was very chubby and overweight. and people didn't expect it. And that's another reason why I got into so many fights, because people are always trying to play with me. And my dad taught me one thing when I was younger, which wasn't very beneficial, but he told me, if someone ever plays you, just straight punch them in the face. Yes, that might work as a kid when you're in school and that, but when you're older, this is where I started getting in trouble. Next thing you know, I'm catching assault charges, ABH charges, because now I'm doing it at 16, 17, 15, and it's causing a lot of problems, let's just say, and it's going very extreme. And my point being was, so you like all this energetic, high competitive stuff, dangerous stuff that gives you adrenaline. That's why I like the adrenaline, yeah? And then if you win, you get respect. That's another reason why people love to do violence. Young people love violence. Young boys love violence. Do it in a combat sport because it's much more worthwhile. Do you understand? So there, you can satisfy that need there. Clout, women, that can be easily attained by just being yourself. Find your own style. Be your own guy. Pursue business. Go out and network with people. Go gain life experiences. Clout and women will follow if that's what you're looking after, if that's what you're seeking. You ain't got to be going to cause harm to people. You ain't got to be jeopardizing your future, your life, everything. And this isn't even just for young boys and all that. There's people many guys who are still on road 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. You're wasting your time. Wasting it. Because those things that I just saying that you can go do, that's not the easy path. That path can give you peace because you ain't got to be looking over your shoulder when you do eventually become successful and stuff and get those wins. Unlike the streets, always worrying, always looking over your shoulder, whether it's police, ops, pagans, whatever it is. It's always something worry in the back of your mind. I remember the door. For like 6 years, if I heard the doorbell ring, my heart used to jump. My heart would go into my stomach because I'm like, fuck, police. Because I'm doing so much shit, I don't know when the police are coming. And when you're in the streets and all this stuff, police can come 2 years later, 3 years later. You don't know. Cases take time to build sometimes. You might take time to get identified. It may take time for them to convince someone to become a witness against you and cooperate. There's so many reasons why it takes long for cases to be built on you. And that's another reason why you got to get out ASAP. The longer you're in the streets, the bigger chance you are giving yourself at going to jail. And when you go to jail, you're basically stuck. Now you're in a box. The only thing you could really do is read, right? And outside of that, what? You don't want to be in that position. It's a waste of time. You don't need to go to jail to learn your lesson. You don't need to go to jail to fix up. Because then say if you want to do certain things in your life as well, when you do all these negative things for so long, it makes it so much harder. You destroy your own self-belief. Do you know how many guys I talk to and say, you can do this, that? They come asking for answers. They're asking like, how do you do this? How do you do that? How can I do this? How can I change this? I give them something practical that they can go do. And so many people don't do it. I see them 6 months later, 9 months later, still in the same position. And the reason is because it's hard to do. You spent so many years just doing one sort of behavior and building up all these habits, like I told you, like I said, the compounding thing. Now, even when you're given the answers, given the opportunities, shown the way, it's still hard because to do these things takes discipline, takes resilience. You have to be relentless in a positive way. You have to deal with self-doubt. You're going to have to sacrifice. You might need to start using public transport. You might need to fuck it, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I know a lot of men on the road look down on it because they think they're above it for some reason, which is the dumbest thing I've ever I don't know. It's so fucking stupid. Shows how broken and poor the mentality actually is. Because I promise you, no rich person got a problem with hopping on a train or bus if they need to, if they genuinely wanted to. Because they're not caring about what other people think. Oh, he might think I'm poor. That mentality there you need to break immediately. You'll never get off the roads or do anything in life if you care about what other people do. I made a video recently about how you can change your life when no one else believes in you. And the number one thing that you must begin with is something that I call an NFG mindset, which means no fucks given, meaning you cannot care about anybody else's opinion. Now there's 4 other key steps to this, and it's what I've used multiple times in my life when I've hit rock bottom, when I've been in messed up situations and been able to bounce back and recover. And I've become a bit of a master at that because life's been a fucking roller coaster because of all the bad choices that I've made. And one of the key things that I've done that I mentioned at the end of that video is what makes most people who gain some sort of progress end up falling back into the old ways. Because the amount of people that stop trapping, that stop doing all this madness, who end up then going back and resorting to that, is because of this thing that I mentioned in that video. So go check that video out. And that's for anybody. Anybody can apply that. If you, doesn't matter what position you're in, but if you're in a position where you want change, where you want to improve, where you want to level up, that is the step-by-step formula. You apply that, I guarantee you will change your life for the better, and you will make progress, and you will achieve the goals that you set yourself. I guarantee it. Now, if there's anything you're going to take away from this video, if it's not that, you don't need to be wasting your time involving yourselves in the street life, especially in 2024. Because like I said, everything you search for in them streets can be found elsewhere. But the most important thing that can be applied throughout your entire life is understanding and implementing the power of compounding habits. Because the same way that a lot of these roadmen that you look up to, especially these rappers and whatnot, who portray this image and lifestyle, are going to end up burnt out, tapped, wasted, riddled with addictions. That same negative pattern that compounds happens positive. If you are making the right decisions daily on a day-to-day basis, things that are going to benefit you in the long run, they are going to have a compounding effect. You don't become muscular from going to the gym for 3 weeks. You become it from going for 3 months and then 3 years. You don't build a successful business in 3 months. You build it in 3 years. Why? Because you learn all the trade secrets. You learn your industry. You learn the skills. You make yourself better. You make mistakes. And then you keep implementing these positive daily habits and actions over and over and over and over and over again. Somewhere down the line, they all compound. And then it's like a snowball. When it gets to a certain level, that's when it picks up speed and momentum. And that's when people think, oh, this happened overnight. But they don't realize this snowball started all the way back there as this tiny little speck. And it's taken all this time to get to this big snowball. And now when it's that big snowball, people can't help but see and hear about it. Because it's making too much noise. It's looking too good and powerful. That is the benefit of positive actions compounding. So you have a choice. You have a choice. Are you going to let your negative actions compound, or are you going to let your positive actions compound? Because I've been on both sides of the spectrum, and I promise you, this one here will take you to the depths of hell. And that's not where you want to be. We're on this earth to live and to be prosperous, to be fruitful, to multiply. You can only do that in a negative way that's going to cause harm, death, and destruction, and ultimately cost you your own being if you do it this way. When you do it this way, the positive way, you'll see how beautiful life is. You'll see how much opportunity is there in the world. You will see what you're attracting to your life. At the end of the day, I'm not Mr. Righteous. I don't have all the fucking answers. I just share my experiences and from what I believe to be true and to be beneficial for you guys, because it's been beneficial for me. That being the case, remember, we all have a choice. Elevate or deteriorate. Love.